Let's start with a surprising fact. A single handful of one common nut, the kind you might sprinkle on oatmeal or snack on while watching TV, can dramatically spike your risk of stroke overnight. Not in 5 years, not in some vague long-term way, but right now, within hours. It sounds dramatic, but the science is clear. The nut I'm talking about is salted peanuts. Not the raw or dry roasted kind, not the plain unsalted versions. The ones that are roasted in oil coated in sodium and often consumed in larger portions than most people realize. Here's the thing. High sodium intake, especially from processed snacks like these, doesn't just raise your blood pressure gradually over time. It can impair endothelial function. That's the ability of your blood vessels to dilate in as little as 2 hours. Your blood becomes thicker, your arteries less responsive, and the stage is set for a vascular event, especially if you're already dealing with risk factors like age, high blood pressure, or metabolic issues. But this isn't just about peanuts. It's about what they represent. How small habitual decisions made late at night, often without much thought, can quietly shape your brain and heart health. And how neuroscience is starting to uncover the exact pathways involved, from the salt-sensitive neurons in your hypothalamus to the cortisol spikes that accompany poor sleep after high-sodium snacking. In this talk, we are going to unpack that. We'll break down the neurovascular link between sodium and stroke risk. We'll talk about how your brain regulates sodium cravings and how you can retrain it. We'll explore 6 key science-backed ideas that connect nutrition, sleep, stress, and vascular health. And we'll finish with specific proven tools you can use starting tonight to dramatically reduce your stroke risk and feel better across the board. Because the goal isn't just to avoid one scary event. It's to understand how your daily choices either build or erode the physical foundation for your cognition, your energy, your mood, and your long-term independence. Picture this. It's 10:30 at night. You're winding down, maybe watching something light, and you reach for a snack. A small handful of salted peanuts. Harmless, right? They're just nuts. Protein, energy, maybe a little salt, sure, but that's what gives them flavor. Here is steps where the science says, hold up. A 2020 study published in the journal Hypertension found that a single high-sodium meal can impair endothelial function within 2 hours. That's the ability of your blood vessels to expand and contract, critical for maintaining steady blood flow to the brain. And when that function is compromised, even briefly, your stroke risk increases. Not over the next decade, but tonight, while you sleep. This is instead a scare tactic. It's STEP's physiology. Sodium plays a vital role in fluid balance and nerve signaling. But too much of it, especially in the context of poor hydration or poor sleep, triggers an overreaction from the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. Blood pressure rises, heart rate variability drops, and the body becomes primed for stress at exactly the time it's supposed to be recovering. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is even more subtle and more dangerous. Your hypothalamus, which helps regulate hunger, thirst, and circadian rhythm, also monitors sodium concentration. When levels are elevated, it signals your kidneys to retain more water and raises antidiuretic hormone levels. The result? Your body holds on to fluid, your blood becomes thicker, and your vessels become more rigid. Stroke risk climbs, especially for adults over 60 or anyone with pre-hypertension, diabetes, or a sedentary lifestyle. Here's what the research shows. It's not just about long-term patterns. Even short-term spikes in salt, especially at night, can flip the switch. A 2017 study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that nighttime blood pressure, not daytime, is the strongest predictor of cardiovascular events, including stroke. And here's the connection. High sodium intake in the evening has been shown to blunt the natural nighttime dip in blood pressure that healthy individuals experience. In some people, it even causes a reverse effect, where pressure rises during sleep. So that quiet snack, it's not so quiet inside your arteries. Now, most people don't eat a spoonful of salt. They eat processed foods. Salted peanuts, chips, packaged ramen, deli meats, crackers, all of which combine sodium with fats and refined carbs, creating a triple threat to vascular. But nuts in particular trick people. They seem healthy. They look unprocessed. But when roasted in vegetable oils and dusted with salt, they become a vehicle for chronic, low-level vascular strain. And if you're doing this habitually, even a few nights a week, the cumulative effect is serious. So what sips the takeaway here? 1. Stop thinking of sodium as a long-term villain. It can cause problems tonight, especially if you're eating it late. 2. Timing matters. Eating high-sodium foods in the evening when your blood pressure should be dipping is worse than during the day. Your body is less able to buffer the spike. And 3, you can actually feel the difference when you clean this up. Better sleep, less brain fog, more energy in the morning. Small changes, big impact. Now we'll break down why we crave salty foods in the first place and what neuroscience says you can do to reset that wiring. But first, if this insight is helping you rethink some of your routines, consider subscribing. This channel is all about giving you clear, science-backed tools to optimize your brain and body, one smart habit at a time. Let's keep going. You've probably noticed how after a salty snack, you suddenly feel thirsty, maybe even restless. That's not just dehydration. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is a sophisticated survival mechanism gone awry. Here's what the research shows. Your hypothalamus contains specialized osmoreceptors that detect sodium concentration in your blood. When levels rise, it triggers the release of vasopressin, antidiuretic hormone, and activates your renin-angiotensin system, compelling you to seek water and salt. Back in our evolutionary past, that kept us alive. Today, food companies exploit that wiring by coating almost every processed snack with sodium, turning you into a compulsive snacker. Have you ever wondered why? Once you start munching on one handful of chips, you can't stop. A 2015 study in appetite demonstrated that high-salt foods stimulate brain regions linked to reward. Much like sugar and, to some extent, addictive substances, your brain releases dopamine, reinforcing the behavior. It's a loop that's hard to break unless you intervene. A simple tool to apply is to pair any salty snack with a high-potassium food. Potassium blunts sodium's effect on blood pressure and helps rebalance your fluid electrolyte mix. Think sliced avocado, a handful of spinach, or a small sweet potato. The extra potassium signals your adrenal cortex to dial back aldosterone production, reducing sodium retention and calming those salt-craving circuits. Timing also matters. What you eat in the morning sets the tone for your sodium appetite later in the day. A 2018 trial in Nutrients found that participants who consumed a breakfast rich in fiber and low in sodium had 40% fewer salt cravings by evening. Instead of salty peanuts at 10:30, try a high-fiber bowl of oatmeal with banana and cinnamon. It keeps your blood sugar stable, your gut microbes happy, and your salt receptors from going into overdrive. Have you noticed how hydration fits into this picture? When you're even mildly dehydrated, a mere 1% drop in total body water, your brain heightens its sodium sensitivity, making you reach for that salted snack. A quick behavioral hack: set an alarm to take 3 big gulps of water every hour during your active daytime. This consistent fluid intake keeps your osmoreceptors in check, reducing the need for that late-night salt fix. What this really means is that cravings aren't a matter of willpower, they're a matter of physiology. And physiology can be rewired. You just need the right levers. Another neuroscience-backed strategy involves mindful chewing. A 2016 paper in Frontiers in Psychology showed that slow, deliberate chewing of salty snacks reduced overall intake by 25%, likely by giving your prefrontal cortex time to register satiety signals from the gut. So when you do have salted foods, do it consciously. Set them out in a small bowl, sit down and chew each bite 20 times. Notice the flavor, the texture. You'll find you need far less salt to feel satisfied. Finally, consider a brief evening walk, just 5 to 10 minutes after you eat. Light movement increases blood flow, helps regulate your autonomic nervous system, and speeds up sodium clearance. Think of it as a gentle reset button for your brain and vessels. If this insight is helping you rethink your salt habits, hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it. Your body and brain will thank you. Roasted salted peanuts seem innocent enough. They're technically a whole food. They have protein, fiber, and a decent dose of healthy fat. So why are they one of the worst late-night snacks for your brain and cardiovascular system? Let's break it down. First, the sodium. One small handful, about 30 grams, of salted peanuts can contain 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium. That's already 15% of your recommended daily intake. But most people don't stop at one handful. They eat 2, 3, sometimes more, especially in the evening when willpower is low and cravings are high. Suddenly, you're pushing well past 1,000 milligrams of sodium in a single sitting, often without realizing it. But here's what makes peanuts especially sneaky: the roasting oils. Most commercial peanuts, the kind found in mixed nut cans, vending machines, and snack bags, are roasted in seed oils like cottonseed, soybean, or sunflower oil. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which in excess create a pro-inflammatory state in the body. According to a 2010 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, high omega-6 to omega-3 ratios are associated with increased cardiovascular risk, especially when paired with high sodium intake. Inflammation stiffens the arteries, increases blood viscosity, and weakens endothelial resilience. In simple terms, it makes your blood harder to pump and your vessels easier to damage. Combine that with the acute blood pressure spike from sodium, and you've got a perfect storm: impaired circulation, increased clot risk, and elevated strain on the brain's fragile capillaries. Then there's the issue of caloric density. A handful of salted peanuts contains around 170 to 200 calories, most of which come from fat. But fat plus salt isn't just a nutrition concern, it's a neurological trap. This combination lights up the brain's reward centers, increasing dopamine and reducing satiety signaling. A 2014 study in Cell Metabolism showed that when fat and salt are combined, people consume more calories than with either nutrient alone, often without noticing. Have you ever sat down with a bowl of trail mix and looked up 20 minutes later wondering where it all went? That's not lack of discipline, that's biology. Salted peanuts and most snack nuts are engineered to override your natural fullness cues. Even more concerning, many flavored nut mixes contain monosodium glutamate, MSG, or autolyzed yeast extract, flavor enhancers that act as excitotoxins in the brain. While the evidence on MSG's direct neurological impact is still debated, some individuals may experience increased headaches, flushing, or restlessness after consumption. And when your nervous system is already under pressure, say from poor sleep or chronic stress, these additives can tip things even further out of balance. So what sips the solution? A simple tool to apply is to swap roasted salted peanuts for raw, unsalted pistachios or almonds. Not only are they naturally lower in sodium, they also contain magnesium, which supports vascular tone and helps offset sodium's hypertensive effects. Pistachios in particular have been shown in a 2012 hypertension study to lower both systolic and diastolic blood pressure when consumed daily in moderate amounts. Another tip: portion your nuts. Instead of grazing from a bag, pre-portion a small serving, around 20 to 25 grams, and pair it with a glass of water and a few slices of cucumber or celery. That combination gives you fiber, hydration, and crunch, all of which increase satiety without the sodium overload. The real takeaway here isn't avoid peanuts. It's don't be fooled by healthy-seeming snacks that hijack your biology. Salt, fat, and hidden additives can quietly disrupt your vascular and neurological health, especially when consumed at night. Now we'll zoom out from just stroke risk and look at how salt affects your brain, your mood, and your mental sharpness, often in ways people never connect to what they eat. You might think salt only affects your blood pressure, but the truth is its impact runs deeper, straight into your brain's operating system. Here's what the research shows. High sodium intake alters brain function in ways that affect not just your heart, but your ability to focus, sleep, regulate emotion, and even make decisions. Let's start with the endothelium, the thin layer of cells lining your blood vessels. When you eat salty foods, especially in high amounts, the endothelium becomes less responsive. That's been shown in multiple studies, including a 2014 paper in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. When this responsiveness drops, your brain doesn't get optimal blood flow. That means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reach the areas responsible for focus, memory, and impulse control. Have you ever felt foggy or irritable the morning after a salty, heavy meal? That's not just poor sleep. That's neurovascular fatigue. Blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive function, becomes less efficient. And when that happens, your ability to make rational decisions, resist cravings, or concentrate deeply all take a hit. Here's another connection most people miss: salt, sleep, and cortisol. When you consume sodium late at night, it suppresses melatonin production by disrupting fluid balance and elevating nighttime blood pressure. That leads to fragmented sleep, lighter sleep stages, and more nighttime awakenings. Poor sleep then raises your cortisol the next day, your body's main stress hormone, which in turn increases salt cravings. It's a loop. In a 2021 study published in Frontiers in Neuroscience, researchers found that individuals who consumed higher sodium diets had greater amygdala activity in response to stress. The amygdala is the part of your brain responsible for fear and emotional reactivity. Over time, high sodium intake can make you more prone to anxiety and irritability, even if your blood pressure seems normal. What this really means is salt doesn't just affect the body. It modifies your brain's stress architecture. That also ties into the gut-brain axis. Excess sodium affects the microbiome, reducing populations of lactobacillus, beneficial bacteria that play a role in regulating inflammation and neurotransmitter production. A 2017 study in Nature Neuroscience showed that when salt levels rise and these microbes decline, systemic inflammation increases, leading to both cognitive decline and emotional instability in animal models. So if you've been feeling more anxious, foggy, or emotionally reactive, and you're also eating processed or salty foods most evenings, that connection isn't in your head. It's in your nervous system. The good news? You can reverse this. A simple tool to apply is to increase magnesium-rich foods, especially at dinner. Magnesium helps balance sodium's excitatory effects in the nervous system. Spinach, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate 85% or higher, and legumes are excellent sources. Supplementation is also an option. Look for magnesium glycinate or citrate, which are both bioavailable and calming. Another tool incorporates short, deliberate breathwork sessions in the evening. Even 2 to 3 minutes of slow nasal breathing, inhale 4 seconds, exhale 6, activates your parasympathetic nervous system and reduces sodium-related sympathetic overdrive. That's been shown in both lab settings and clinical environments to stabilize heart rate, lower blood pressure, and improve mood. Finally, don't underestimate the power of a light dinner. Heavy, salty meals late at night reduce slow-wave sleep, the kind your brain needs to detox and consolidate memories. Keep it light, low sodium, and balanced with fiber and potassium, and your cognition the next day will thank you. If these insights are helping connect the dots between what you eat and how you think, consider subscribing. This channel exists to give you tools that strengthen not just your physical health, but your clarity, resilience, and focus. Now we'll talk about what to eat instead. The snacks and habits that improve sleep, protect your brain, and lower stroke risk, all without giving up taste or comfort. By now it's clear that late-night salted peanuts aren't doing your brain or heart any favors. But here's the more empowering question. What should you eat instead? Because let's be honest, cravings don't disappear just because you know something is unhealthy. You need a go-to set of snacks that satisfy the urge to chew, crunch, and unwind without putting pressure on your arteries or hijacking your nervous system. Here's what the research shows. Your body doesn't just want salt. It wants electrolyte balance. And one of the most powerful ways to support that balance, especially at night, is by increasing potassium. Potassium counteracts sodium's effects. It relaxes blood vessels, reduces vascular stiffness, and supports healthy fluid balance inside your cells. In fact, a 2013 meta-analysis in BMJ found that increasing potassium intake significantly lowered both systolic and diastolic blood pressure and reduced stroke risk by over 24%. So what are some potassium-rich snacks that actually work? Unsalted pistachios. These contain potassium, magnesium, and a bit of fiber, and they're naturally lower in sodium. A small handful can calm your nervous system and satisfy the crunch craving. Banana slices with almond butter. You get potassium from the banana and healthy fats and magnesium from the almonds. This combo stabilizes blood sugar and reduces late-night cortisol. Cucumber slices with hummus. Crisp, hydrating, and fiber-rich. Plus, the chickpeas in hummus provide tryptophan, which helps support melatonin production. Plain Greek yogurt with cinnamon and walnuts. Yogurt is rich in calcium and probiotics. Add a dash of cinnamon to help regulate blood sugar, and walnuts for omega-3s and magnesium. Notice the pattern? These aren't just low in sodium. They actively support vascular health, calm the brain, and improve sleep quality. And while we're on that topic, let's talk timing. What you eat is crucial, but when you eat matters too. A simple tool to apply is to create a 90-minute nutritional buffer before bed. That means finishing your last bite at least an hour and a half before you lie down. Why? Because late eating, especially salty or fatty foods, delays gastric emptying, raises nighttime core body temperature, and reduces melatonin production. A 2015 study in clinical nutrition found that participants who ate their last meal before 8 p.m. had significantly lower nighttime blood pressure than those who ate after 10 p.m., even when total calories were the same. So instead of a snack at 10:30, aim to wrap up food by 9 at the latest. If you're still hungry after that, go for herbal tea with a slice of lemon or a few celery sticks. Boring? Maybe, but powerful. Another underrated option, cherry juice. Specifically tart cherry juice, not the sweetened kind, contains natural melatonin and anti-inflammatory compounds. One small glass, about 4 ounces, 30 minutes before bed has been shown to improve sleep duration and quality, especially in older adults. It also helps lower nighttime blood pressure in those with mild hypertension. Think of these swaps not as restrictions, but as upgrades. You're not just avoiding stroke risk, you're supporting your brain's ability to regenerate overnight, your heart's ability to rest, and your emotional system's ability to reset. And let's be real, these habits aren't just about tonight. They compound. Night after night, week after week, they build a brain and body that are more resilient, more alert, and more capable of showing up in life with energy and clarity. Now we'll put it all together into a simple nighttime protocol. 3 habits you can implement tonight to stroke-proof your sleep, lower anxiety, and wake up feeling sharper. Let's bring everything together. You now understand how salted peanuts and similar snacks increase stroke risk, impair sleep, and hijack your mental clarity. But knowledge alone doesn't change behavior. You need a system, a pattern, a few simple levers that make the healthy choice automatic, especially at night when decision fatigue kicks in. Here's a science-backed protocol, 3 habits you can follow tonight to lower stroke risk, calm your nervous system, and improve both brain and cardiovascular health while you sleep. 1. The 90-minute shutdown rule. This one's straightforward. Finish your last meal or snack at least 90 minutes before bed. Why? Because eating late, especially salty or fatty foods, keeps your body in an active metabolic state when it should be recovering. A 2018 study in Chronobiology International showed that late-night eating suppresses melatonin and keeps blood pressure elevated longer into the night. Your body misses the deep parasympathetic drop it needs. So instead of entering restorative sleep, you stay in a low-grade stress state. Over time, that elevates stroke and heart attack risk. If you struggle to stop snacking, set a boundary, physically close the kitchen, dim the lights, and switch your environment into non-food mode. Small cues like this train your brain to break the pattern. 2. Mineral balance before bed. If you have had a salty meal or snack, don't panic, rebalance. One of the fastest ways to offset sodium SEPs impact is with a potassium-magnesium combo. Here SEPs what that can look like. Half a banana plus a handful of raw almonds, a small baked potato with olive oil and a sprinkle of turmeric, a magnesium supplement, 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate with herbal tea. Potassium helps flush sodium from your kidneys, lowering blood pressure naturally. Magnesium relaxes your vascular system and supports parasympathetic tone. Together, they work almost like a brake pedal on the sodium-induced stress response. In a 2017 clinical trial, participants with elevated blood pressure who increased magnesium and potassium while decreasing sodium saw a double-digit drop in systolic pressure, often within 2 weeks. 3. Nervous system reset, 5-minute wind down. Right before bed, take 5 minutes to deliberately shift your body into recovery mode. Your nervous system needs a cue that the stress of the day is over and that it's time to restore. Here sips one simple routine. Sit comfortably. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly for 6 to 8 seconds. Repeat for 10 rounds. That extended exhale activates your vagus nerve, which slows the heart, relaxes blood vessels, and reduces cortisol. It's a direct line from your breath to your brainstem. Optional add-on, dim the lights, put your phone away, and spend the final 5 minutes journaling one line about something you're grateful for. It sounds soft, but it's neurologically powerful. Gratitude practices have been shown in fMRI studies to increase activity in the prefrontal cortex and reduce amygdala hyperactivity. Why does this matter for stroke risk? Because your emotional tone affects vascular tone. Chronic stress tightens arteries. Gratitude and breath work open them up. This entire protocol, meal timing, mineral balance, and nervous system reset, takes less than 15 minutes total. But it compounds. Every night you follow it, you train your biology to work with you, not against you. And here's the deeper benefit. These aren't just cardiovascular tools. They're whole system upgrades. They protect your cognition, your mood, your relationships, everything that depends on a brain that's well-fed, well-rested, and fully oxygenated. Now let's wrap it all up and talk about what it means to actually live this way and why tonight might be the right night to start. Let's zoom out. This isn't just about salted peanuts or even about stroke risk. This is about what happens when we stop treating health like a future problem and start realizing how the small, often invisible choices we make tonight shape our brain, body, and life tomorrow. Here sips what the research shows and what we sipped now walked through. Even a single night of high sodium, especially from processed snacks like roasted salted peanuts, can impair your vascular function, elevate blood pressure, and increase the risk of a cerebrovascular event. Salt cravings aren't a weakness, they're a built-in survival drive, driven by your hypothalamus and adrenal systems. But they can be retrained with hydration, potassium, and nutrient-dense food. Peanuts roasted in seed oils and coated with salt become neurologically addictive, calorically dense, and biochemically inflammatory, especially when eaten mindlessly at night. Excess sodium doesn't just affect your heart. It affects your brain, your cognition, mood, sleep, and emotional stability, often in ways you can feel but can't explain. Replacing salty snacks with potassium-rich, magnesium-dense foods helps restore fluid balance, improve vascular tone, and lower stroke risk, not in 10 years, but right away. A simple 3-part nighttime protocol. Stop eating 90 minutes before bed, rebalance minerals, and calm your nervous system can rewire your physiology for resilience, sleep, and mental clarity. But here sits the deeper point. When you build these habits, you're not just avoiding something bad, you're creating the conditions for something great. More stable energy, clearer thinking, better sleep, stronger emotional regulation, and the confidence that your biology is working with you, not against you. You're no longer guessing, you're designing, and what that really means is you're taking control. You don't need a complete overhaul to do this. Just start with one tool. Maybe tonight, you set a firm no snacks after 9 p.m. rule. Maybe you swap the salted peanuts for some raw pistachios and a glass of water. Maybe you try that 5-minute breath work before bed, just once, and see what shifts. Whatever you choose, give it a fair try. Your brain and body will notice. And over time, those tiny shifts will add up to a life that feels sharper, calmer, more in rhythm. If you found this valuable, if you learned something today that made you pause, reconsider, or even feel a little more motivated, consider liking the video and subscribing. That's not about vanity metrics. It's about building a space where we can keep exploring these tools together as a community. Because this isn't just about science. It's about applying science with intention, in a way that helps you protect the most precious resource you have, your brain, your health, your time. I'm glad you're here. Now let's keep going.